In the annals of science, few names shine as brightly as Louis Pasteur. His work, born from relentless curiosity and meticulous experimentation, would forever change humanity's understanding of life, disease, and the invisible world around us. Born in Dole, France in 1822, young Louis was the son of a tanner, a humble beginning for a man destined for greatness. His early education showed more promise in art than in science, a testament to his keen observational skills. However, his passion for chemistry soon ignited, setting him on a path that would lead to Paris and the prestigious École Normale Supérieure. It was here, as a student and later as a professor, that Pasteur began the work that would first make his name. His initial breakthrough came in the field of crystallography, a seemingly obscure area of study. He discovered that organic molecules could exist in mirror image forms, a property known as chirality. This fundamental discovery laid the groundwork for the field of stereochemistry. But Pasteur's mind was not one to be confined to a single discipline. In 1854, he was appointed professor of chemistry at the University of Lille, a bustling industrial city. The city's main industry was the production of alcohol from beet sugar, an industry plagued by a frustrating problem. Often, the vats of fermenting beet juice would turn sour, producing lactic acid instead of alcohol. The local distillers, desperate for a solution, turned to the young professor for help. Pasteur, armed with his microscope, began to investigate. He examined samples of the good, alcoholic ferment and the soured, acidic ferment. Under the lens, he made a crucial observation. The healthy fermentation was always associated with living yeast cells, which appeared as small globules. Soured batches, however, were teeming with much smaller, rod-shaped organisms. This led him to a revolutionary conclusion. Fermentation was not a simple chemical reaction, as was widely believed. It was a biological process, carried out by living microorganisms. Different microbes, he proposed, caused different types of fermentation. Yeast produced alcohol, while the rod-shaped bacteria produced the sour lactic acid. This was the first inkling of the germ theory, the idea that tiny, invisible organisms could have a powerful impact on the macroscopic world. But Pasteur's ideas were met with skepticism from the scientific establishment. The prevailing theory of the time was spontaneous generation, the belief that life could arise from non-living matter. People believed that maggots simply appeared in rotting meat and that microbes appeared in broth. Pasteur was convinced this was wrong. He set out to prove, once and for all, that life only comes from life. To do this, he devised one of the most elegant experiments in the history of science. He took flasks and filled them with a nutrient-rich broth. Then, he heated the necks of the flasks and bent them into a long, shaped curve. This swan neck design was the key to the experiment's success. Next, he boiled the broth in the flasks, killing any existing microbes inside. The S-shaped neck allowed air to enter the flask, but it trapped airborne dust and microbes in its lower bend. As Pasteur predicted, the sterile broth remained clear and free of life for days, weeks, and even years. It was not until he broke the neck off a flask, allowing dust and microbes to fall directly into the broth, that life appeared. Soon after, the clear broth would become cloudy, teeming with microorganisms. The experiment was a resounding success, a death blow to the theory of spontaneous generation. It proved that the microbes that grew in the broth came from the outside world, not from the broth itself. This victory had immediate practical implications. If germs from the air could spoil broth, could they also be responsible for spoiling wine and beer? Pasteur turned his attention to the diseases of wine, a major concern for the French economy. He discovered that unwanted microbes were indeed the culprits behind sour and bitter wine. His solution was simple yet brilliant. Gently heat the wine to a temperature high enough to kill the harmful microbes, but not so high as to ruin the flavor. This process, which he patented in 1865, became known as pasteurization. It was soon applied to milk, beer, and other perishable goods, saving industries and preventing illness. Pasteur's work had saved the French wine industry and provided a powerful new tool for food preservation. But his journey into the world of germs was far from over. If microbes could cause diseases in wine, could they also cause diseases in animals and humans? This was a radical idea, as the causes of most diseases were a complete mystery. An opportunity to test this hypothesis arose from an unexpected quarter: the silk industry. In the mid-19th century, a devastating epidemic called pébrine was wiping out the silkworms of southern France. The industry was on the brink of collapse, and once again, a desperate industry turned to Pasteur. Despite knowing nothing about silkworms, he accepted the challenge in 1865. For 5 years, he dedicated himself to studying the sick worms. He identified a microscopic parasite, a corpuscle, in the diseased worms and their eggs. He proved that this parasite was the cause of the disease and that it was contagious. His solution was practical. Inspect the parent moths for the parasite and only allow healthy, uninfected moths to lay eggs. The method worked, and the French silk industry was saved. The silkworm study was a crucial turning point. It provided the first concrete proof that a specific microbe could cause a specific disease in an animal. The germ theory of disease was no longer a hypothesis. It was becoming a demonstrable fact. Pasteur's personal life was marked by tragedy, as 3 of his 5 children died from typhoid fever. This personal loss undoubtedly fueled his passion to conquer infectious diseases. He now turned his full attention to the diseases that plagued humanity. His next target was anthrax, a deadly disease that affected cattle and sheep, and could also infect humans. Working with the German physician Robert Koch, who had already isolated the anthrax bacillus, Pasteur began to study the bacteria. He wondered if it was possible to make an animal immune to a disease without giving it the disease itself. He had a stroke of luck while studying chicken cholera. A culture of the cholera bacteria was accidentally left to age over a summer vacation. When this old, weakened culture was injected into healthy chickens, they became mildly ill, but did not die. Curiously, when these same chickens were later injected with a fresh, virulent culture of cholera, they remained completely healthy. Pasteur realized what had happened. The weakened, or attenuated, bacteria had acted as a vaccine. It had stimulated the chicken's defenses without causing the full-blown disease. He had discovered the principle of vaccination by attenuation. He immediately sought to apply this principle to the more formidable anthrax dye. He developed a method to weaken the anthrax bacillus by heating it. To prove his vaccine's effectiveness, he staged a dramatic public experiment in 1881 at Porly-le-Fort. He took 50 sheep. 25 were given his new anthrax vaccine. After a few weeks, all 50 sheep were injected with a live, deadly culture of anthrax. The prediction was stark. The vaccinated sheep would live. The unvaccinated would die. When Pasteur and the crowd returned 2 days later, the result was breathtaking. All 25 of the unvaccinated sheep were dead or dying. All 25 of the vaccinated sheep were perfectly healthy, contentedly grazing. The success was total and undeniable. The germ theory of disease and the power of vaccines were demonstrated to the world. But Pasteur's greatest challenge and his most celebrated victory was yet to come. He turned his attention to rabies, one of the most terrifying diseases known to man. Transmitted by the bite of an infected animal, rabies was invariably fatal once symptoms appeared. The cause of rabies was a mystery, as the agent was too small to be seen with a microscope of the time. Pasteur hypothesized it was a microbe that resided in the nervous system. He and his team developed a vaccine by taking spinal cord tissue from infected rabbits. They weakened the infectious agent by drying the tissue over a period of days. This created a series of vaccines of decreasing virulence. He successfully vaccinated dogs, proving the method worked in animals. But he had never tested it on a human. The moment of truth arrived on July 6, 1885. A 9-year-old boy, Joseph Meister, had been severely mauled by a rabid dog. Without treatment, the boy was certain to die a horrible death. With great trepidation, Pasteur agreed to administer his experimental vaccine. Over the next 10 days, the boy received a series of 13 injections, each one progressively stronger. The world held its breath. Joseph Meister survived and remained healthy. It was a miracle of modern science. Pasteur became an international hero overnight. Donations poured in from around the globe to fund a new research institute. The Pasteur Institute was inaugurated in 1888, a beacon of hope dedicated to the study of infectious diseases. Louis Pasteur would serve as its director until his death in 1895. His work laid the foundation for microbiology, immunology, and modern medicine. He proved that germs cause disease, a concept that revolutionized surgery and public health. His development of vaccines for anthrax and rabies saved countless lives and opened a new frontier in disease prevention. The simple process of pasteurization continues to protect people from foodborne illness every day. Louis Pasteur, the chemist who began by studying crystals, had become the savior of millions. His legacy is not just in the diseases he conquered, but in the scientific method he championed. He showed the world that with careful observation and rigorous experimentation, humanity could solve its most daunting problems. The germ theory remains a cornerstone of our understanding of the world. His life's work was a testament to the power of a single, curious mind to change the course of history. The world before Pasteur was a world of mystery, where diseases struck without reason or warning. He replaced that fear with knowledge, and that mystery with understanding. His experiments were models of clarity and precision, designed to provide unambiguous answers. He was not just a scientist. He was a brilliant communicator and a persuasive showman. The public demonstration of the anthrax vaccine was a masterstroke of scientific theater. He understood that to change the world, you had to not only be right, but you had to convince the world you were right. His work on fermentation revealed a hidden, bustling world of microscopic life. This invisible world, he showed, was not chaotic but governed by laws. The idea that microbes were specialized was a profound insight. It paved the way for identifying the specific causative agents of numerous diseases. The tragic death of his children gave his quest a desperate urgency. He saw disease not as a divine punishment, but as a tangible enemy that could be fought and defeated. His work inspired a new generation of microbe hunters. Joseph Lister, applying Pasteur's principles, developed antiseptic surgery, saving countless patients from post-operative infections. The simple act of washing hands became a life-saving procedure. The rabies treatment was a particularly daring venture. He was treating a disease whose causative agent he could not even see. This was a leap of faith, guided by scientific principles. The success with Joseph Meister cemented his status as a legend. Years later, Joseph Meister would work as a caretaker at the Pasteur Institute, a living testament to the man who saved him. Pasteur's influence extended beyond science into the very fabric of society. He demonstrated that scientific research could yield immense economic and social benefits. Governments began to see the value in funding scientific inquiry. Despite a severe stroke in 1868 that left him partially paralyzed, he continued his work with unwavering determination. His mind remained as sharp and inquisitive as ever. He was a patriot, driven by a desire to restore the scientific prestige of France after the Franco-Prussian War. His rivalry with the German scientist Robert Koch was legendary, pushing both men to greater heights. This competition accelerated the pace of discovery in the new field of bacteriology. When Pasteur died, he was given a state funeral, an honor usually reserved for military heroes and heads of state. He was buried in a magnificent tomb beneath the Pasteur Institute, a fitting resting place for the man who started it all. The story of Louis Pasteur is a powerful reminder that one person's dedication to truth can benefit all of humanity.